it's evident that he cares. What do you care about? Welcome to the Rock Newman Show. It's the Rock Newman Show.
Greetings, beloved. You are about to witness another segment of the Rock Newman Show 2.0. And it is a day and an interview that I have been trying to arrange for quite some time. I'm going to do a disclaimer. And the disclaimer is that I love my next guest. My next guest is, just I could call so very many names. Rochelle in Everybody Hates Chris, and Pam and Martin and on and on and on. Tina Butler in The Neighborhood and Paulette in the South African series Lockdown. But yours truly, my guest today is our sister, TICHINA Arnold. TICHINA, welcome to the Rock Newman Show 2.0.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I finally made it to your kingdom. This is awesome.
Well, thank you
I'm
so
very
very much.
excited.
Thank you
And the
so very much
feeling's
for being
mutual.
here. Yeah.
The feeling is mutual. You know I love you, man.
All right. Thank you again. All right. So, it's so many places to start. So I'm just going to pick one. I see the photo over your shoulder of Nelson Mandela, Madiba, with the
Yes,
raised fist.
that's
So,
right.
what I want to, where I'll start in seeing that as a backdrop is you playing Paulette in the South African series Lockdown.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that journey, how that came about, how you felt doing it, what it meant to you?
Oh wow. Well, it was done through a mutual friend of mine named Bart Phillips, who worked for BET. He's been in the industry a really long time. And, I have been definitely blessed to know some really amazing people in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had long time friendships and such as yourself, long time relationships. And so Bart was like, look, TICHINA, I'm doing business in South Africa. There's a company that I'm working with, and I think it would be great if you did their television show. It's like a number one show there. It's a great black male who produces it, and it's just a really overall good show. And no American has been on this show, so
Mm-hmm.
I think would you entertain that? And I was like, hell yeah, I would love to. So I watched a few episodes of it, and I was like, yeah, this is a no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
So doing that, I mean, I put in work because those actors over there are working. But I just loved the whole idea of it, about a female prison in Africa. And I played a character who came in as an American, so I didn't have to, learn an accent. Thank God for that, because I would have
Mm-hmm.
been horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to embody this character who was American, and she got caught up in some trouble for doing whatever she did. Because a lot of it I can't remember but she was in a pickle, and she got locked up in a South African jail and just had to deal with the main characters that was on the show. So it
Mm-hmm.
was a great experience, a lot of work, but I made a lot of good relationships in South Africa. That was like my first time in South Africa, actually.
And,
Actually,
and when do you remember what year was it? When were you there?
2015, 2015,
Okay, but
something
you
around there.
found it a rich experience overall.
Yes. Oh, it was an amazing experience just to meet new people in the industry. It's like I've been in show business in America for so long, to where
Yeah,
that all is that type of show business. But
yeah.
to go to Africa and see and see how they do it, and that was just a great, great, great experience. A lot of work though. Like, we were really in a prison, and it it was pretty tough, but the production, everybody was just happy. The DP, she amazing. Just how she shot it, it was just all around. It was just a great experience, and to be that close and be in it and meet my South African brothers and sisters was just a really good experience.
When you say you were in the prison, question, and this is being asked by a brother that's claustrophobic.
Oh,
Was there ever the steel shutting of the door? Did you ever hear
all
one?
of that, all of that. And the way their jail cells were, there's like this whole row of jail cells, and they were small, but not real compacted, but they were small and just
Yeah.
cold. And
Hmm.
yeah, I had to play a scene where they close the door, the typical slamming of the jail door. So it was an experience. Actually, I just saw somebody post about it on Twitter saying how much they enjoyed it. A lot of people didn't know I did it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so you mentioned in answering this question about having been in show business here in America. So a lot of people make the claim for the hardest working man in show business, the hardest working person in show business. When one goes to your wiki page and does some research on you, it just keeps on saying, and the next year she did this, and the next year she worked on this, the next year she worked on that. It starts pretty much with Little Shop of Horrors. That's where their focus is. It starts with
Yeah,
Little
yeah.
Shop of Horrors. So give us a little bit about my viewing audience, because I know they just want to know everything about you, and so do I. Is Give us a little background. You a New York girl. Tell us about your growing up.
Okay. Well, growing up, I started off in the church. I raised Church of God in Christ, staunch Christian, very religious background. My uncle Ronnie, who was my mother's uncle at the time, said, you need to put Tashina in show business. She could sing. She has it, whatever that is. She
Mm-hmm.
has it, and I think you should explore it.
Mm-hmm.
And I started singing at the age of 3. So by the time I hit 11, I was playing the drums. I was directing the choir. I was doing everything that I could, in terms of just getting my musical ability out,
All right.
and expressing myself. And then I auditioned
Let me stop you
my
for a
uncle.
second. Let me stop you
Yeah.
for a second. So you playing the drums. So 10-year-old Tachina Arnold, if you went and hit the drum, what was some of your favorite stuff that you were trying to play then?
Oh,
Who
I
you?
love when they play shout music. I love playing shout music. But then after
Uh-huh.
a while, I get tired.
Uh-huh.
It's very. I wish I could play the drums now. I think when you're young, you don't realize that you can't do something.
Yeah.
So
So you go for
literally I went and bought timbales. I
it. Uh-huh.
played the timbales. Always love congas, so I played the congas.
Mm-hmm.
But being in church, it allowed me to explore all of those gifts that I had, or even my inquisitiveness about whether or not I could do certain things.
Yeah.
But the sky was the limit, and directing the choir. My mom was over; she was a musical director
Uh-huh.
of the children's church. So
Okay.
she was able to, she drove the church van every night. So we had to take people home. I wouldn't be getting home till 3 o'clock in the morning from her driving all the way from Red Hook, Brooklyn to Queens. So it was a wonderful experience, but during that time in the church, I embodied so many things. I was able to digest music, and I was able to digest the word. I was able to digest, literally miracles. uh, but then when I got older, I was able to get in show business by my first audition, which was the Me Nobody Knows at the Billie Holiday Theater in Brooklyn, who
Mm.
actually just had their I think how long is it? They just had an anniversary. I can't remember how old it is, but
Mhm.
that was my first time on the stage. Once I hit that stage at age 11, it was no turning back. I was just like, this is for me. This is what I want. I didn't know anything else. I didn't want to do anything else. I just wanted to perform. And I was just, God has been able to, has provided me with so many avenues to perform. And of course, I've had my down times. I've had times where I didn't work, didn't have two nickels to rub together. But because it was something that I loved doing, that never stopped me. Never.
Okay, let me ask something I never even thought about until we're having this conversation right now. But
Hmm.
during that time, there was something. There was a play in New York that I probably went to see a half a dozen times. It was Mama, I Want to Sing.
Yes, I auditioned.
Did you
Yes,
ever? Did your mom or anybody, did they let you go see that? Did you see
I
that when it was playing?
I not only saw it, Vi Higginson,
Yes.
who was the producer of that, her and her husband. That's one of the first times I met Tisha, and she was doing it. Tisha Campbell was, um, performing in it,
Yeah.
and I got the call from Vi to be her understudy. But it turns out that I guess, Tisha was leaving and they would, needed to find somebody real quick. And I was like right there in line. But something, just all went awry and it never happened. So I was never able to actually do Mama I Want to Sing, but it would have been nice. And Desiree Coleman, I think Desiree Coleman
Desiree.
was,
Yeah. Desiree.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
that was one of her claim to fame as well. And Desiree and I went to school. We went to music and art together. So
Wow.
very
You know what?
small world.
I'm gonna take a moment of personal privilege here. Vi Higginson literally was my next door neighbor in
What?
in her husband in Weehawken, New Jersey.
Wow. Wow. It's a small world.
Years later, I come to meet her nephew. I'm doing business with HBO, and Curry Davis, brother named Curry Davis, who is a attorney, who is her nephew, who actually helped manage that Mama I Want to Sing show. We became very very good friends. Um,
Wow.
so okay, so you were actually not only did you see it, but you met Tisha there. You were actually slotted, maybe even to take her place. And
Yeah.
as they say, stuff happens. Whatever
Stuff
happens.
happens.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
Ish happens.
Yeah.
I was never able to perform in it. But everybody knew about Mama I Want to Sing. Like, yeah, it was over on not Amsterdam. Yeah, I think it was over on Amsterdam and off of Central Park.
Man, I'm telling you,
Yep.
I thought it was marketed. Mama, I Want to Sing. They built it out. At first, the New York churches would come to see it, and then they branched it out to New Jersey and Connecticut.
Yes.
Before long, church buses, trains, whatever,
Hmm.
all around the world were coming in. I thought they did an
Yeah.
incredible job.
It was before the Tyler Perry era.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
Before the
that's
internet and all
crazy.
that, but man,
Yep.
it was some great marketing done there. So let's move on up. You mentioned Tish Campbell's name. Let's move on up to Little Shop of Horrors. So
Hmm.
tell us about that experience.
Amazing. Here you had a, well, I was 15 at the time. I was about 14 when I auditioned for it. By the time I turned 15, I had booked it. Uh, you're talking about a little girl from Queens, Jamaica, Queens, New York, that, literally got an opportunity of a lifetime. I actually did the movie, and then after I did the movie, I did the play. So, so by the time I was 17, I did the play. 17 going on 18. Uh, at the Orpheum Theater. Yeah, but to have that experience, we flew to London, lived in London damn near a whole year. Uh, they changed Frank Oz changed the ending of the movie, to make I guess to make a possible Little Shop of Horrors 2. So they wanted an alternate ending for it. So they flew me on the Concorde to go back to get back to London as quick as possible. So here I am, 15 years old, flying on the Concorde, going to London and getting from New York to London in 3.5 hours.
That's right. I was
So,
gonna say, for those folks looking in here now don't know nothing about the Concord. It doesn't exist anymore.
man, I was just explaining the Concorde to my daughter. Like, I was just trying to explain it to her just to be at the horizon. Just literally, you could see the horizon.
Right.
It was crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
And
Lovely experience.
whatever that was about, it go through the sound barrier and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was some exciting.
Very. They should warn you. I told them that they give you these earplugs, but they should warn you when you're landing,
Yeah,
because when you're landing, you're breaking the sound barrier.
yeah,
So it sounds like the plane is just falling apart.
yeah.
And I used to hear those planes when I was little because I grew up on 142nd Place, right, like a quarter of a mile away from JFK Airport.
Hmm.
So I would hear that Concorde come in, and it would shake the whole house. So to actually get a chance to get on the Concorde was pretty fun. It was a lot of fun.
So regarding Little House of Horror, it reminds me of something. In the live album that Sylvester did, he talked about the Weather Girls, and he said the girls don't
Motherhood.
need no juries. They don't need them dresses. They don't need no juries. They can sing, y'all. They can sing. That makes me think about you and Tisha and Little House of Horrors. Y'all could flat out belt it out. Y'all could sing, as Sylvester would say. And and so I'm curious as to what your aspirations were during that time. You stayed largely in front of the screen, television, but not as much singing.
Mm.
Are there any regrets there, or I mean, you could just you were so good that it was easy for one to think that, okay, this is the has a career in show business, being on the stage, singing her heart out.
See, well, that's I where I fell in love, and the reason why I fell in love with show business, it was being on that stage. So singing, and I'm gonna tell you this story because it's kind of funny now that I think of it, and you pose the question that way. Do I have any regrets? Actually, no, I do not have any regrets not becoming a music artist,
Hmm.
because after we did Little Shop of Horrors, Madonna was very hot then. So Madonna was going on tour. So she had personally requested that me, Tisha, and Michelle be her background singers.
Wow. Wow.
I was so excited. I mean, like we got the call. And my mom called my Uncle Ronnie, and my Uncle Ronnie said, absolutely not. You're too young,
Hmm.
and that's not the route your career should take. I was so mad at him, and I couldn't understand it. I was like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. We'll get to sing. We get to travel the world with Madonna, no less. And looking back on it, you know, it was the best choice that I ever made, because I would not have taken the path that I've taken thus far. And I
Yeah.
love the path that I've taken.
Yeah.
Um, I've never ever been interested in the music side of the industry because I saw so many people not be treated fairly. I
Right.
saw so many people put on platforms and literally come home and not have a dime in their pocket.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a lot of falsehood and a lot of lies and deception, and it just wasn't a great payoff for me to be able to be in the industry that is just too gray area for me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you had too many people hands in the pocketbook. You know what I mean? It's too many hands at the. So I never really. I just kind of got turned off to, like, I've recorded a lot of songs. I've
Yeah.
been in a lot of studios.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of people. Actually, Gwen Guthrie wrote me a song years ago. I got to find that song because I would love to release it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but never, ever, ever really been interested in becoming a music artist. I loved making people laugh. I loved singing while making people laugh. I loved, doing, I'm not a dancer, but I love just dancing and performing and being and hearing the audience and just being on that stage to be able to act and become different people. And, that to me, that was more interesting than being a music artist.
You know, um, wisdom is often defined in different ways. But what I hear you saying there is that you most wanted, that you desired at that stage of your development, you didn't get it, and not getting to go with Madonna is one of your
Mm,
life's blessings.
yes. And you would never, like at the time, I thought it was the worst choice ever. I just could not understand it. And it wasn't until I started doing soap operas. When I booked Ryan's Hope, it hit me. I was like, this is what my uncle was telling me about. And he explained it to me. He was like, Tashina, you're still young. You could go on a lot of tours. There's always going to be a tour that you could go on. But the
Mhm.
path that you should take right now, you're able to act. You're able to dance. You're able to do a lot of other things. If you go on tour, it's going to take you outside of the industry that you have a natural proclivity to, and that is the stage and acting.
Okay, so that was the influence of people that really cared about you.
Oh
They
yes, for
they
sure.
of course they didn't want to hurt your feelings at that time. They didn't want to say no to you, but at that moment they knew best. You came to
Hmm.
find that out later.
Hmm.
Now, if you could, we had a conversation at one point. I forget all the particulars of it. It was
Hmm.
during a time where we had some communication about Brother Rissa,
Yes.
and he was going to come and speak to a group of people, a group of young kids at your house. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. Now that lesson that you understood later on, after you was so hurt of not being able to pursue what seemed like the greatest opportunity in the world. How do you take that, and how does that, if it does at all, help guide you in the toughest job on the planet, and that's being a parent? You've got a
Oh. I mean, that's kind of how life goes. I always say that having my daughter saved my life because it allowed me to understand and accept firsthand that it's not just about me.
Mhm.
And it taught me how to share. It taught me how to, I've been a daring kind of person. I used to ride motorcycles and stuff like that, but I'm not a type of person that lives on the edge. But, having my daughter later on in life, I didn't have her till I was 35. So I was an adult, but
Mhm.
did not expect to be a single mom.
Mhm.
Um, so a lot of things happened to me at once. So motherhood definitely pushed me in the direction of really, I thought I was grown. Well, I'm really grown now.
Yeah.
And now, not only are you grown and not only are you an adult and you have responsibilities, you have responsibility for another life,
Mhm.
which is a complete game changer. So now the lens that I look at life through involves her in every aspect. You know, I I don't always make the right choices, but I tell my daughter to this day, you don't want to make the same mistakes twice. And then when you get out of your 20s, you don't have much room for error. So by
Mhm.
the time you get past it, and even now, these days, unfortunately, it's in the teens because everything is moving so much faster. Like just life is moving rapidly. And unfortunately, our children are a part of that. But I just did the best that I could, and I'm still doing the best that I can. But when you are in a position where something is far more important than you, it allows you to be humble and focus on the things that will enhance your life and not take away from it.
So having your daughter is 18.
19. She just turned 19. She
She,
just turned 19.
19, yeah.
Yeah.
Still your baby, but
Oh
grown.
yeah. Always be
Grown,
my baby, but think
grown,
she grown.
right. Um, Does this time scare you as a mom more than past times?
I'm going to tell you no. And the
Mhm.
reason why I'm going to say no, because I've learned to not fear. I'm still learning to not fear. I'm learning how to um, manifest things. I'm learning how to be calmer so I can be able to make decisions. Uh, I'm happy that my daughter is 19 and not 11 now.
Yeah,
I will say that.
yeah, yeah.
So I kind of, because of her age, I kind of past that the harder time. If she was 11, I wouldn't be saying the same thing. I would definitely be a little more fearful.
Hmm.
But now that she's 19 and I've instilled her with certain things and certain morals and certain standards and codes, I think it's a good thing. This is the era that she's born in. This is her time, and I just have to teach her how to utilize her time as best as possible, because it is crazy out there. It is crazy, but it's crazy everywhere. So at some point you're gonna always have to deal with something. But you take the bull by its horns, and you just make it happen. You you take on all challenges, and that offends you, you get rid of it. Cut its head off. So I think being a mom made me more fearless. I don't get embarrassed like like when you're a mother, the embarrassment, is out the window, because like, I'll show up, I'll show up. I don't care. I'm like, I'm your mother, and
Yeah,
nothing you can do that can embarrass me,
yeah.
because everything I do is out of love and out of wanting you to be able to survive, and wanting you to be able to learn how to survive on your own.
You as that parent, as that with that ultimate responsibility, what I've often characterized as the most important job on the planet, and that is of being a mother. How did your being a mother um, impact you when you took on the role of Rochelle? And everybody hates Chris.
My baby was only 2 at the time. Elijah was only 2. So I didn't have a whole lot of experience
Uh huh.
being a mom.
Hmm.
And I was kind of bummed out. I was happy to work with Chris, but the only thing that I did not like, I said, I know once I play this mother, I'm going to always be a mother. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as I play, the industry, once you play a mother, you're going to always play a mother. And at the time, I thought that was a horrible thing, but I'm like, no, I'm getting older now, so I am in the mother age range. But to be able to play on that show, I had to Rochelle. In order to create her, I had to incorporate my mother, my aunt, and my grandmother. So
Oh,
that's who Rochelle is. Rochelle wasn't me.
yeah,
Rochelle is my mother, my aunt,
yeah.
and my grandmother.
Uh, okay, that's interesting, and it really does bring me to my next my next line of inquiry here, because I was talking to a friend who was a religious watcher of Everybody Hates Chris, and so she was like, "Well, I wonder. Ask her, did she get any negative feedback for being such a so tough, so tough on Chris. What
No.
what kind of feedback did she get about it? Of course, I remember the one piece where Chris, what was he doing? He wanted to be the girl like the tough boys or the bad boys or whatever.
Uh huh.
And,
Uh huh.
and Chris wanted to. Chris was, as they say in the country, was smelling himself.
Uh
And
huh.
and later on he woke after an encounter with you, he woke up he woke up somewhere. So you know, I I happen to think too often that those who have their sort of old school style of discipline are interfered with when the experience has been some of that old school discipline. I know it was the case with me. Helped me get on the straight and narrow.
You're damn Skippy. You damn Skippy. It gave you grounding. And anything that's done out of love. Now, I'm not saying that every child needs to be spanked. I'm not saying that, my mom used to give me pinches and she used to give me seasoned beatings. She said, okay, it's springtime. I'm going to beat you now so I don't have to keep beating you. That was her whole take on it. And then I was 3 years older than my sister, so I got in trouble for a lot of my sister getting in trouble because I was supposed to watch her and be the responsible one. But that being stated, when you have parents, I've just had the pleasure of experiencing a 2-parent household. My dad was present, until he and my mom, I think I was 11, 12 by the time they, kind of parted ways. So for the earlier part of my life, I was able to see what it felt like and, to have both parents in the household. And it did make a difference. Having that father that was going to protect you, having that father that is going to be, giving you, helping you, bring home bacon, so to speak. And it was during the time when my mother wasn't working. It was where she was a stay-at-home mom. So I was able to digest that. Now having my daughter, a completely different thing. I'm a single mom. I'm doing my thing. And it's just me and her and my village. Could never have done it and raised my daughter by myself. And I say it all the time. It's impossible to raise a child by yourself. I don't care if you get help from your next door neighbor. I don't care if you get help from a bum on the street. You're going to need help. It's impossible. So to have a unit and a group and a village of people to help you along the way, that's what I was always raised around. So my mom had her sister. Like, my mom is one of 5. So we had aunts and uncles. We had a family unit. And being on Everybody Hates Chris, I noticed that when we got into syndication, that's when I start seeing these things saying, you are my mom. You are my mom. And I'm looking and it's all in Portuguese. So that's when I realized that in Brazil, I was actually one of the first dark-skinned women to be on television. And so when Everybody Hates Chris, was released there, it just literally, because we forget there's they've been told the number might be higher, but over 200 million Black people in Brazil.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure I've had people, my character get on, certain people's nerves. I'm sure of that. But for the most part, everybody could relate to Rochelle. And even white people. White people, listen, you can't let them fool you either. They tear their kids' asses up too. Some of them, not all of them, but everybody don't put their kids on timeout. So we're all raised differently. But like I tell my daughter to this day, I said, my job and duty as your mother is to teach you how to survive until you can do it on your own. And I'm going to instill all of these things in you for you to be able to do that. Use your common sense. Look around. Pay attention to your surroundings. Never be the last one to leave the party. Don't put your water down. Don't put your drink down. Don't smoke. Don't share. Like, I'm just giving her all of these things as I go. But it's because I told her I'm on your team. I'm your number one member on your team. So I'm not against you. So going through those teen years was hard, not easy, because you're raising another person, a human being. So I told her, I want to make sure that you have good memories. I have great memories as a child.
Yeah.
And to be able to play Rochelle, as strict as she was, she did it out of love. She did it for the household. She did it for her husband. She did it. And Chris Rock explained that to me. Chris Rock was totally devastated when he lost his father,
Yeah.
and he idolized his father. So that's why, he, playing Terry Crews, playing Julius, that role was very important because we don't have a lot of Black men in the households that we see on TV. And Chris, this was about his life. So he wanted to make sure that it portrayed it in a real way. So Rochelle was one of those characters that, you protect your family. That's what a matriarch is supposed to do. The matriarch does what she has to do, and it's all out of love.
My guest is Tichina Arnold. And this sister has been just absolutely phenomenal in her journey in, about, and around and over top of Hollywood. In in responding to what I just asked you about Rochelle, you talked about being sort of one of the first dark skinned women in the show, and how it was received here and in Brazil and internationally. So here is a question that I've tried to wrap my head around, and was so very pleased when we finally arranged where you could come on. I wanted to ask you this. Um, it's a dynamic that, okay, I'm going to start this way. You met my producer um, prior to coming on. We were just,
Very nice man.
yeah, yes, yes. So Avis, I think, I forget, but I think he's like maybe 56 or 58 or something like that. And so he's at the age where he had a crush on you.
Are you telling on him?
Come on, I'm telling on him right now. You wanted he had a
Oh
crush. He had a crush on you, and his description of you was,
hilarious.
man, that brown chocolate sister, and is in the house of horrors. And then as she grew, she had that banging back. Man, that sister was so fine. And when I told one of my godsons, there was the reaction of, you know, dudes looking at you, and I'm sure women too, and seeing a beautiful Black woman. And you do the Martin show, and there was often, the humor was of you not being attractive. Somewhere in there. As you have described your parents caring for you, I'm sure you must have had a healthy dose of self-esteem. So then to play that role where l- part of the humor was your looks being demeaned, if you will. Tell me about that. Tell me about how you felt about that.
I didn't feel any way about it, and here's why.
Mm-hmm.
The way, all right, so the role of Pam was
Yep.
originally written for a heavyset girl.
Uh-huh.
So Pam, in the description, she was a heavyset girl, Gina's best friend. Um, and so when I auditioned for it, obviously at that time I was in my, prime, so I wasn't heavyset, so they
Ac-
changed it.
According to Avis, you had a banging body.
Yeah,
I know he's over there now, just
he
screaming.
just, he was just talking about my butt. That's all he was talking about, which is fine. You know what I mean? Because I think beauty is within. Beauty is
Yeah.
in the eyes of the beholder. I've never ever considered myself as I know I'm beautiful on the inside, but I've never looked at like, hey guys, yeah, no, I never did that because I think that's one of the reasons why comedy was so attracting to me because you could get ugly in comedy. I
Mhm.
didn't have to play a pretty girl and do all of that.
Mhm.
But it organically happened with Martin and I because being from New York, I was around a lot of gay boys who used to read, and we call it reading.
Mhm.
We call Jones, like I guess they call it Jonesing and cracking. So Martin didn't realize that I could crack.
Mhm.
So he used to say stuff to me like, he had his friends around, me and Tisha, we were all Tommy Cole, we were just all Carl rather. We would all just be gathered around playing spades and cracking on each other. So when
Mhm.
I start cracking back, they just start incorporating into the script. So that's how it came about. It wasn't about colorism. It wasn't about that because Martin's sisters are my complexion.
Okay.
So I knew that it wasn't written from a place, oh, she's dark skinned. It
Mm-hmm.
never ever derived
Mm-hmm.
from colorism. It
Mm-hmm.
derived from me playing the best friend, me being the pain in his side, and him going to the lowest that he could go
Yeah.
to get my gander,
Yeah.
to piss me off.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. It never came from, oh, she's a light skinned one, she's the dark skinned one, oh, we're going to crack on the dark skinned one. It never ever was from that. It never came from that. It was just organically done because Martin didn't realize that I could clap back.
Yeah. Okay. So if this is a good question, you and the audience watching, don't give me the credit. I told you about my godson.
Yes.
His lady was so interested, as literally yesterday as I was taking them to the airport. His lady was so interested in having you to respond to that. Sometimes there would be a scene, and maybe the scene was ending or whatever, but it was like y'all were straight up cracking each
All
other
the time.
up, and
All the time.
you could be heard at the end of at the end of a scene with a belly laugh.
Yes, because we just had a lot of fun watching Martin's comedic brilliance. Literally was riveting because the cameraman, you would hear cameramen laughing because what we did, we shot the show. So we put the show in a can
Yeah,
during the day. And
yeah,
then by 6 o'clock at night, we'd do audience loading and we would do it again just for the audience to get the laughs.
yeah,
But we got the crust of the show out already. The once we did it for our audience, that was just, cheddar on the biscuit. But it was enjoyable watching each other's scenes. So whenever Martin had like a funny scene,
yeah,
everybody would all the actors would just come and watch
yeah,
because he was just so funny. So that's why you would hear us laughing in the background because, we supported each other, so if somebody had a scene, we would watch the scene, especially if it was funny. And literally we would try to make each other laugh. So Tisha hardly ever broke. She always was the consummate professional and never laughed.
uh-huh.
Me, Tommy will always break first. Then Carl
Yeah,
would walk by me and say something like and walk by like I'm like, dude, like, and try to make me laugh. So we will always try to one up each other to make
yeah.
each other laugh. So it became a competition within the show itself. So it was just that's why you heard us laughing. I mean, every scene you just hear me just cracking up. Funny
So
stuff.
obviously that was a special time, and even as you describe it now, what I'm hearing is that there was it was just magic. A,
It was.
a lot of it was just organic, and it was magic. It was incredible chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Question: what can you identify if you had to pick one experience out of the Martin shows that either meant the most to you, made you lose your breath laughing, whatever it might be? Is there one? Is there one episode? Is there one scene that you remember more than anything else?
Most definitely. It was the New Jack City episode where Brother Man took Martin's CD player and
Yeah.
Martin thought one of us stole it. So he played like he was Wesley Snipes and he had a fake Rottweiler.
Whoo!
If you listen and watch that episode, you'll hear me doing this. I was trying. I think I peed on myself. I think I did. I think I did because it was so funny, and we would try not to laugh. And Martin would do that all the time. He would play Dragonfly Jones. All these. I loved Otis. That was one of my favorite characters. I love Bob when he played the white guy, but when he did that scene, he wanted a real dog. But Fox was like, we're not getting you a real dog.
Yeah,
That's not in the budget. So
yeah,
when they bought the fake dog to
yeah.
him,
Big fake dog.
Big fake dog. Martin's only thing. He said, okay, I'm gonna do this, but can this dog stand up? And our prop masters were like, oh no, don't worry, it's not gonna fall. It's not gonna fall. So we're doing the scene, and in the scene, the dog falls. And we all were just like, oh. When the dog fell and Martin said, lay, he told the dog, we lost it. We lost it. You can hit Tommy. That's what Tommy would rub his head and turn away. Tommy always broke the first. He always laughed first.
Yeah.
But it's those moments to
Yeah.
where, you know, you just, cause a lot of stuff I forget, you know,
Of course.
once I walk, and that's just overall, like even when I'm on stage, I could do a whole performance. I could do 20 pages of dialogue.
Yeah.
Once I walk off the stage and once they say cut and move on,
Yeah.
boop, it goes. I have short-term memory, so it goes out of my brain. So,
Go.
but that was a moment that I will never ever forget. Never, because we laughed so hard. So hard.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there is a clip on I think I saw it on TikTok that a guy kind of duplicates what Martin was doing, where he runs up.
Oh,
It's still
everybody
funny.
does the duplication.
It's still funny.
It's correct. I've said it on so many other interviews. We never realized what we had. We
Yeah.
just were happy to be there. We were happy to work with each other. And it was just, we didn't know that it would be the only of its kind. You
Yeah.
know, the Wayans, Keenan Ivory Wayans and before him, Robert Townsend
Yeah.
paved the way for Martin. You know,
Yeah.
that's why Martin was able to be received so well, because of Robert Townsend and Keenan Ivory Wayans, and then came Martin, and then came a single what's the show? What's the single show? Lord have mercy. But all the other shows after that,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to be a part of that era,
Yeah.
you'll never, like, I just will always respect it. I will always put it in a special place in my heart, because I got the opportunity to be a part of something that started something, and it was the only of its kind, and people are still enjoying it to this day. I mean, you can't, as an actor and as a performer, you can't beat that. To me, that's stardom. That's, I don't give a damn about being a star. I give a damn about doing good work, and to watch people laugh literally 20 something years later, can't beat it.
So I'm gonna take another point of personal privilege. I hope you'll indulge me and the audience also. But one of the real disappointments um, in my career as Riddick Bowe, heavyweight champion of the world, as
Mm.
his manager. Of course, Martin, as you well know, is from the from
Mhm.
DMV. And
Yeah,
and
and boxers. He likes boxing. He
absolutely,
loves boxing.
absolutely. And at some point, he made the call that he wanted Riddick Bowe to come and to participate in one of the shows. I couldn't have been more overjoyed. It was during that period where Bowe had all of a sudden gone from poverty to having a whole lot of zeros in his bank.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so we were supposed to leave on a Saturday to come out. We were going to be out by the Burbank airport. We were going to to come into Burbank. We were put up in one of the hotels there. So he said,
Mhm.
give me an extra day, I'm going to come tomorrow. So I went on Saturday, and I was trying to get him on Sunday, and I couldn't get him. Eventually, I found out that he had bailed.
Ah, that sucks.
He had bailed, and
I think it was the Tommy. Was it the Tommy Hearns episode?
You
Because
know
Tommy
what?
Hearns ended up doing. I think that might have been the Tommy
That's
Hearns
it. That's it.
episode.
Tommy
Yeah.
Hearns. Riddick Bowe was supposed to be in that show that Tommy Hearns stood in for. And man, that was an absolute disappointment because just personally, I wanted Bo to have that exposure. And
Mm,
beyond that, it appeared it appeared to me the magic that you have described, it felt good going to be and to be able to see that magic take place in person. And so
mm.
that was one of that absolutely was one of my big disappointments.
Oh, I hate that that happened to you. But, I guess as a manager, and especially, I kind of used to know about that boxing world.
That's right. That's right.
But I'm sure
So,
as a
so wait a minute. So, wait a
manager,
minute.
it's very frustrating.
So my audience out there, who can be very critical, they would
Uh-oh.
say to me, Rock, why didn't you probe that? Well, okay, so here was the deal. Tachina at one point was married to an accomplished heavyweight fighter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is
Yes.
when I met you.
Lamont
Actually,
Brew.
he introduced
Absolutely.
us.
Absolutely.
And I told you every time you were like the one person, I don't care no matter where I would see you. I mean, that whole fighting world. It's not just the fighter and the manager. It's the whole team. So you see, the fighter along with just a whole group of people. But every time I would see you, just always, to this day, you always smile. You engage with people. You look people in the eye. You just always remain the same, which is why I love you so much, Rock Newman. You are just the epiphany of a good man. Thank you. I just so
Man, oh man,
appreciate you
I might need
because
to
it
end
was
this
some
interview.
crazy days back then.
Maybe I should end this interview right there. I can't do it though. I can't do it.
No,
Thank you
I
for doing
appreciate you. I
it.
so appreciate you. I hate that I can't be with you in person. So we're gonna do this again. Hopefully, I'll be back on where I can sit down and
Yeah, yeah.
literally look you face to face. I would prefer that, and we could chop it up about some other things.
Sure.
But you are
Sure.
just contribution to humanity is I will always respect it, and I will always honor you. Always.
That is beyond kind. And so, look, well, let's share with the audience. We were even trying to do it about a month or so ago. You were in Atlantic City,
Yes, I was
and
right
we
there.
were taping in DC, and we couldn't quite make it happen.
My schedule's
Um,
crazy.
um,
Yeah.
Tell us, how much can you tell us about what you were doing in Atlantic City? Because that's something upcoming, right?
Yes. It's a movie, a Christmas movie for BET. And it is directed by Terry J. Vaughn. I don't, Zane, can I say something? Okay, it's called So Fly Christmas.
So Fly
Um,
Christmas.
So Fly Christmas,
Okay.
and it's starring me and Tammy Roman. We play best friends, and I get stood up at the altar, and it goes on from there. But it's going to be a really, really cute, fun movie, and something that I haven't done before. And it's great working with Tammy, and of course working with Terry J. Vaughn because I've been in the industry so long. It's like I think I've met the reason why the name of my company is famously Blacker. If you black in Hollywood, I've either encountered you, know you, or met you, or we pass ways. But I just love, I love us. I love
Yeah.
us, and I always want to reflect us in the best way possible. So,
Okay.
yeah,
This, I'm not exactly sure when this is going to air, but I will say here
yeah.
now.
I'm always the last to know. I don't know when it's gonna end.
I will say this about this interview, that it is happening one day after the death of Harry Belafonte.
Oh yeah.
And you just talked a little bit about Black Hollywood. Boy, there's so much to talk. We've got two or three more interviews, Tachina, that we'll need to
No, you
do.
said it right, Tashina.
Tachina, yes. So,
Tashina. Mm-hmm.
Tashina, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, your reflections on Harry Belafonte
Mm.
and whether or not the industry allow would would allow a Harry Belafonte to flourish now.
Mm, not now. Unfortunately, not now. And back then, I wasn't in Mr. Belafonte's era,
Sure, of
but
course.
watching him and Sidney Poitier and all the greats, watching them, they always were able to keep a good balance. And
Hmm.
that balance was they just didn't take any jobs,
Yeah,
which is very, to me, responsible
yeah,
as a black person living in America. That's very responsible
yeah.
because it allows you to play in a game that you're not in control of, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
But I always say, and I tell other actors, once that camera is rolling, that's the only time you have control and power. Once that camera starts rolling. And I love the fact that Mr. Belafonte, not only in front of the camera, was a force to be reckoned with, but behind the camera as well. And all of the things that he stood for, and paid, like I mean, I don't want to use the word militant, but you wouldn't think that he achieved as much as he did off camera.
Yeah,
Um, I met his daughter, Shari Belafonte, lovely, lovely lady. I haven't seen her in a long time. But these are he's now our ancestor. So I'm sure we will be calling upon him and his and what he left here to help us while we're still here. But he kept a great balance. And it's
yeah.
very hard to do in this evil industry. This
And
industry could
and
be very
and
evil.
and in order to keep that balance, it took an inordinate amount of courage
Mm-hmm.
because he understood
Mm-hmm.
taking some of the actions that he participated in. He understood what the repercussions could be. He did it anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
He did it in far from like all of us, far from a perfect man. But
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about that, just in order for a prominent black man to do what you just said, keep a balance, because far too many feel as if my observation is feels as if you really got to go along to get along. Harry
Mm-hmm.
Belafonte didn't have that mindset. He was
Mm-hmm.
a very courageous man.
I'm sorry. I wish I would have gotten a chance to meet him. He was actually on on my list of somebody that I would love because I met Eartha Kitt. I met
Yeah,
Cicely Tyson. I was able to hug her
yeah,
before her last before she transitioned. But when you walk in your power,
yeah,
everything else will follow.
yeah,
When you walk in your power, everything else will follow. So I try to tell young entertainers behind me, don't, I've done jobs just for the money, but I
sure.
never compromise my morality.
Uh-huh.
Never allow money or fame or even the glory of fame to compromise your core. Listen to your instinct. If it don't feel right, it ain't right.
Yeah,
And it's okay to say no.
yeah.
That is the only power you have as a human being is to say no. And sometimes we as actors need to exercise that. And,
I
this beyond the money. It's beyond
I
all that
want to
other crap.
I want to take that 24-second clip or whatever, however long it was of what you just said, and play it over and over and over again to those in the rap industry.
Mm-hmm.
You, I know, were there sort of at the infancy of hip hop music.
Yeah.
And
Like, yeah.
yeah,
I was,
and in New York, and whether it was the Sugar Hill Gang or whoever it was, how it exploded and took in the world. The world became fans
mm-hmm.
of hip hop. And now there are moguls who, in my estimation, have so glorified the worst of gangster rap and that kind of music. And it is executives who are sitting in boardrooms who
Mm-hmm.
are allowing and not just allowing, but promoting the kinds of lyrics that are antisocial
And
lyrics.
profiting.
Absolutely,
Profiting.
and profiting in a very big way.
Mm-hmm.
So to the rappers, I'm sending all of y'all that 24 seconds of Tashina saying, Tashina saying, walk in your power, walk in your power.
Yes, because I remember hip hop. See, I wasn't at the infancy because I was a little too young, and I was a church girl. So,
Mhm.
but I was the LL Cool J
Yeah.
days, Mob Deep. Like when I was around that era. Actually, LL was from Queens as well. He used to have this beautiful green drop top car. He would drive through the neighborhood. So I think now we're learning as as a people to stop giving it away. We just we're naturally gifted. We could do everything. Everything. We can do everything. But we constantly give it away. And so how can you blame somebody else when they capitalize off of it? Which brings me back to that's the reason why I never got in the music industry. There's too much of a gray area that you are not privy to, you have no control over. So once you get in the studio and it's out there, they can do whatever they want. You literally sign your life, your likeness away. And I just never wanted to do that. Television is still a little more structured. The film industry is a lot more structured. You can, negotiate a little more. So it's just a safer place for me. But I would tell our young artists, don't compromise who you are. Because you could it's good that you rap about what you've been through. That's what rapping was for us. That would be able to, like Biggie was letting us know what was going on in Brooklyn. Everybody was different people was letting us know how the what was being done and said in the hood. That's how you would know what Queens was talking about what LL was talking, like just Mob Deep would talk. So it's just all these different people. It's expression. I think everybody should express themselves. I don't think it should be censored. You have the mumble rap. I can't understand it, but that's what there are other people that like it. You also have what is the rap? I guess it's called something. I can't remember the name of it, but it's kind of the hardcore rap, and it's pretty violent. But who's to say that they're not telling the truth? You have rappers that are literally in the hood
Yeah.
shooting, going through,
Yeah.
literally they're going through hard
A
times. They're
reflection,
going,
a reflection of where they are.
yes. So I
Yeah.
don't knock that at all,
Hmm.
but just be mindful of who you're selling it to, because unfortunately you don't have control over it, and people are going to capitalize off of it. And I just pray that our younger generation really realize the power that they have in their hands, and they could do anything they want, anything, but they must find their power, learn how to use their power, and walk in that power.
I can keep you a very long time. This is going to be the last question, and
No worries.
I'll let you go. Um, what's on your bucket list? It's two questions. What's on your bucket list, and what's the vision going forward for for you?
Okay. I do have a few things because I've never thought that I had a bucket list, because I kind of do things as I want to. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to do this today, so I'm gonna do it.
Right.
I do want to go to Kenya and literally be in safari. I want to experience, and I hear Kenya has the best safaris, because
Hmm.
I've been to Senegal, I've been to Nigeria, Abuja, South Africa, but I want to be able to experience Africa on a more organic level, and not something
Hmm.
that's, oh, okay, we're getting in and out of cars and going to fabulous restaurants. I don't, I
But
want.
consider Tanzania also.
Oh, you've been to Tanzania?
I haven't, but I got some plans.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah.
actually know somebody that lives in Tanzania, so that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to go to Greece, Something keeps drawing me to Greece. I don't know what it is, but something keeps drawing me to Greece. Mykonos preferably. Uh, so I want to continue to travel. I think traveling is good, and I tell a lot of young people as well. You don't need a whole lot of money to travel. You can figure it out. Get out of your environment.
Yeah.
Get out of your
Yes.
environment, even if it's for an hour. You got people in California that literally live in Compton and it's 15 minutes from Beverly Hills and they've never even been to
Yes.
Beverly Hills.
Yes.
Get
Yes. Yes.
out of
Yes.
your environment. See other people, see other cultures, have conversations with other people other than your family.
Yeah.
So get out and see the world. But on my bucket list is not much. I just want to be able to leave a legacy of good work. I want to leave a legacy where people could pull from. I want to, be an example of not just hard work, but doing something that you love doing and committing to that and seeing good results from it. It's possible. It's possible. And life has its challenges. So you just got to be willing you got to be willing to go through, but get through it. As long as you get through it, you can conquer anything. And um these kids these days are very fearless, so I pray for them all the time because they are our future. As corny as that sounds, they are our future. Drill rap, that's what it's called, drill rap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even I actually downloaded some drill rap so I can hear and understand what they're talking about.
Hmm.
I just don't shun people away for their views, and we all are different. And that's what makes us all so special. So we have to understand each other a little more. So I always want to be able to understand. So my bucket list, just to be better, more
So,
traveling.
so a couple of years ago during COVID, I had a Zoom event, and all of us who put it on, I hosted a Zoom event. We had masks on, and the mask said, "Black women rock."
Oh,
You, Tashina Arnold, are the embodiment of that. Sister,
thank you.
you rock. And I'm going to send you a few of those masks for you and your dynamic
I was,
sister managers. And how about
oh,
that?
yes, thank you. Nate Rock is going to send us some masks.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
are the rock, and you've been a rock. So
Thank
your name is totally descriptive of who you is, the perfect name, because you are a rock. And we look up to our black men like you. We look up to you. We count on you. I count on you. So thank you for being an example and holding me up and helping lift me up and my sisters. I appreciate it. Thank you.
God bless you. Folks, that wraps this version of the Rock Newman Show 2.0. Again, my producer would yell and scream at me if I don't tell you to like and subscribe and do all of those things to help us continue to grow. Go in
For sure.
peace. Namaste.
I say.